Okay, so we're going to go over basic falling technique, and I realize not everyone has mats, but we can do this even at a much lower level safely and save the big stuff for later. But it's very important that we we learn how to fall for a couple of different reasons. One, from a self-defense standpoint, then we're able to, if we get thrown or shoved to the ground, we're able to get to the ground safely and not break our arm or get knocked out or something like that. And if that were to happen, then the fight's basically over or we're at a disadvantage even before we realize it started. Okay? So from a self-defense standpoint, it's important from that regard. More importantly, chances are you're going to fall a lot more than you're going to need a lot of our other self-defense skills. So chances are self-defense is more about defending ourselves against our own two left feet and our own clumsiness than some big stranger hiding behind the bushes or whatever else, or a dark alley or whatever. If that's not the case, if you are getting into more fights or altercations or being assaulted by other people more than you are falling than your own accord, then you have some lifestyle or some social issues that you've got to work out. Right? So in a lot of ways, I hope that a lot of what we do in here is martial arts calculus for you, in the sense that you're never going to have to use it in real life ever, but I am reasonably certain that you will be able to fall again. And then certainly from a training aspect, it helps to be able to do more advanced training and throw each other down if we can trust that our partner is going to be able to take a fall and get back up. So we don't like to break our playthings, including our partners. So it's very important that for continued training, we're able to fall. Now when we fall, the biggest thing is that we don't freak out. And we would sooner, if we had the choice, dissipate the force throughout the course of a roll as opposed to hitting flush. Okay, we don't always have that choice, but if we do, we want to do that. Second main principle is we want to dissipate the force throughout the greatest amount of surface area possible. Simple physics. If I have X amount of kinetic energy and all of it goes into my arm, then that's bad for my elbow. So I want to spread that force out. So we're going to start with our basic back fall, and the idea is someone comes up and shoves us on our keister. All I'm going to do is tuck my chin, tuck my back, and then get safely to the ground. Okay, so we're going to start here. This is how we would normally do our progression anyway, and we can practice the lower progressions even without standing up if we don't have a mat available. Obviously, we want to make sure we got plenty of space, nothing behind us we're going to hit the back of our head on or whatever, and that's in some ways what we are trying to avoid in doing this. Okay, but the first thing we're going to do is we're simply going to keep our back nice and round, as I said, and dissipate the force throughout the course of a roll. So all you're going to do is do this, and this is kind of a stretch or warm-up. While doing that, the other thing is I'm going to tuck my chin, so what we can't have happen as I fall backwards, right, is wham. If that is pavement or concrete, then again, I'm knocked out. So my chin stays tucked to my chest, and it keeps my head from bouncing. So I had one person tell me, look at the knot of your belt, that's a pretty good cue. Mine will stay up a little bit so I can keep tucking, but you will do that. And so we do that a few times. And then once we've done this, and we feel okay, then we're simply going to add the slap out. So when I do the slap on the small of my back, when the belt touches the ground, I'm going to slap out by my hips. I'm not knife chopping the floor. It's not 1, 2, but from armpit to fingertip, everything kind of hits at the same time. I want to slap down here by my hips. And as I said, that kind of spreads the force out throughout the course of the roll. After I hit, I want the hands to recoil back up towards my face. I don't want to leave this down so it gets stepped on or trapped underneath somebody or something like that. So I recoil, I bring the hands back up in front of your face. Okay. So for the sake of the drill, I want slap, I want your hands to cross back up. When your belt touches again, I want you to slap again. The second slap really doesn't help with the sake of the fall. It's just my way of making sure that you are rechambering those hands. All right, so what I want to see is this. Here, it's slap, cross, slap. Lastly, when I slap, make sure my back is not, when I slap, make sure I don't slap up here by my shoulders, or that straightens my back if I lift too high. And that is not the same as being nice and round this way. You can take a fall the other way, but as I said, we would prefer to roll through the course of the fall, okay? So do that a few times and then come back. Okay, now, from then, we're gonna go to our squatting position. So the thing is, if I fall back and I kind of roll up like a ball, the problem is, I don't want to get rolled up like a ball and get stuck like this or anything like that. So as I fall back, and we're gonna do this from the squatting position, but just watch first, I'm gonna pike my hips. When I come to my shoulders, I'm gonna pike my hips like I'm trying to put my footprint on the ceiling, okay? So instead of all that energy coming down on my head and neck this way, I shoot it up, okay? My head doesn't come onto contact with the ground, or even if it's just kind of resting there, there's no weight coming down on it because I am piking my hips up, okay? As I do it. So, one more time from the squatting position, tuck my chin around my back, sit down, and up, okay? So, again, most of us should be able to do this no problem and just on a carpeted floor or something like that. As always, you know, if it's hurting, and watch your airspace and everything else, but most of us should be able still be able to do that, so give that a try. Okay, so the standing version, okay, I'm simply going to sit down like I'm sitting into a chair. I'm going to sit back down and lower myself down to the floor. So if you don't feel like you want to do that, like I said, you don't have particularly plush carpet or whatever, okay, but in essence, that's what you're doing. And you're like, that's kind of cheating, you're kind of easing your way into it, but that's what our falling is. We're trying to cheat gravity, we're making it easier to fall down, okay? So one more time, I simply tuck my chin, I round my back, I sit down into my fall. And as I said, if you don't want to do that one, okay, but that's how it would look, okay? Now to get back up, we have to do what we call standing up in base. So I'm here on the ground, opposite hand, opposite foot are on the ground, and I pick my bottom hip up off the ground. Up, down. Now, this foot is going to go behind my hand. You're like, what? You're going to swivel. You're going to move that side of the room, and you're going to put your foot behind your hand. Not out here. This is a tripod, and the problem with the tripod is you need all three. You're kind of stuck. I keep my weight on my hand, and then I transition the weight from my hand to my back foot, so I can stand up and away. If we're having trouble doing that, we can do the opposite. Put my hand on the ground, and now slide this foot down. And then we can go back up, and we can go back down. And we can go up, and we can go back down. But if you absolutely need to, you can put the other hand on the ground to help you. But I would prefer, if you can, I can be kicking with this leg. This hand is blocking if they're standing over me. I can be blocking, protecting myself as I scramble my back up to my feet. So from here, if I can't use, if I have trouble using or getting up with one hand, both feet or both hands on the ground, same thing, swivel and then bucking away, but I would prefer you use the other hand. So if this is more of a self-defense situation and I get shoved to the ground, there are two things I can never, ever do. Number one, if the bad guy's there, I can't bring my face forward like this. I also can't try to crawl away from them. So what standing up in base allows me to do is to move back and away. See the diagonal in which I got up? Without, so I got up without bringing my face forward or turning my back as I create space back. And you're gonna need every inch to possibly be able to scramble up to your feet, okay? So, from my ground, from my fall, so after you've done standing up in base on both sides a few times, then I'm going, and so like pause this and do it like 10 times if you haven't. And then when we do our fall, once I fall, one foot puts the brake down. Okay? So I don't do this. I don't come up and then try to go backwards because I still brought my face forward. I keep my face back here. And if I have the chance to get up, then I stand up and away from there. Okay. One more time, even from the squat, I sit down, I do my fall, I plant, and I get up. Okay? Same thing if instead of falling straight back, I'm falling more to the side. Okay? So same progression, we have what we call our side fall. Now I'm going to roll more to my side instead of straight back. Everything else is the same we just talked about. I'm going to be nice and round. However, this looks a little different. Okay, so most people are not used to rolling on their side as much. So see how I'm making a V as I roll one side or the other, nice and round. That is different than me turning and rolling all four corners of my back into one side and then all four corners of my back to the other. One side or the other does the roll. Okay? And then when my belt touches, I'm going to slap and recoil. My chin is still tucked. It keeps my head from bouncing laterally as well. Again, mine is up more than I would like yours to be because I'm talking, but yours can stay down. So I roll, back up, other side, roll, back up. You're like a little weeble. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Okay? Now, from the squat, I'm going to fall to my side. I'm going to splay my foot out and also kind of diagonal. I'm going to roll up my leg, ankle, knee, hip, to that round contour torso we were just working on. So I sit and I roll up the leg and do the same slap. When I come back up, look at this. I got one foot down, I got one hand back. How about that? Okay? So the side, if I fall to my right side, then my left foot's down, my right hand is up, and I stand up. And I do the same thing to the other side. From the squat, I can kick this leg not straight forward, but diagonal. Point the toes forward, so that kind of splays the foot, puts me on more on my outside of my leg, and I roll up my leg nice and round, and then look, one foot down, one foot up. The side you fall to dictates which side you get up with. So if I, again, am lucky enough to be able to scramble to my feet, I probably don't have time to be like, hold on, I can only get up on this side. So we got to be able to stand up the base of both sides. Now I come up this way. The side I fall to dictates which side I fall. I sit down and up and roll. Now, a ball does not make noise when it rolls. It makes noise when it bounces. So it is not plop, plop this way. I don't fall to my hip. I roll up my leg. It should be round. Save for, the only thing making noise is the slap. Okay? If I wanted to do the standing version, again, you don't have to at home, depending on your conditions, I would take a cheat step out. This is how we drill it. I take a cheat step out, I put my leg on the ground, and I sit myself back down into my roll like we just did. Okay? Some of us, we get to here, and then people like collapse, like they've been tased or something like that. Okay? All you got to do is lower yourself back down to the ground. You are controlling the momentum of that fall and making your life easier. So yes, it's cheating, but that's kind of what we're trying to do. Okay? Now, as I do that, okay, one of the other things, and it probably didn't happen on the squatting version, but hopefully not. But when I do, especially from the stand, I do not try to reach and catch myself on the ground as we go down. Okay? So we get this. Okay? I broke my arm doing this. Well, not doing this, but doing this, falling. Well, I was falling, but I wasn't practicing falling. I got pulled off the playground by Devin Kerr. Hate that kid. Anyway, the point is, don't reach for the ground and try and catch yourself. That's when bad things happen. Okay? This is how we break things, popping a shoulder, elbow, whatever. So instead, if you have to, oh no, I'm just falling, sit down and fall. Okay? And again, do the same thing even from the squatting position if you're inclined to reach out, but we don't reach, we roll. Last one for today is our position of landing. So we said if we had the choice, we would sooner dissipate the force throughout the course of a roll as opposed to hitting flush. Sometimes we don't have that luxury, right? So there are various throws in the martial arts where you're gonna get picked up and slammed, or you're just doing you're walking and you get the kind of banana peel effect and your feet come up and you come crashing down and you don't have that option. So we have what we call position of landing. Now, this one might not be as fun on a hard floor, so we can do it really soft, right? So I'm going to show it, and then we'll talk about how to kind of take it easy as you do it, okay? But basically, I'm going to fall in that same position that we just rolled through, only now we don't have the chance. So I'm still on my side. My hand is going to slap by my hip, just like we talked about, not up here. I run the risk of damaging my shoulder. My chin is still tucked. This foot in and out don't really care, but you'll find this is more consistent with other things we do. My knee, my hip, and my shoulder are a straight line. So what I don't want to do is curl in this fetal position so that as I come crashing down, my knees come together, my ankles come together, other things come crunching together, this kneecap goes into pavement, whatever else. So all that can be rather debilitating. So as I fall down, what I want is this top knee to still be pointing to the ceiling so that when I come crashing down, none of that comes together. So my hip, my knee, and my shoulder are a straight line as I come down. The other thing is I want to spread the force throughout the greatest amount of surface area possible. So it's not kerplop, 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 kerplop. I want everything to hit at the exact same time. Here, and then all you're going to do is practice going side to side. Now I'm not just rolling this way. Remember, I am getting thrown, right, from a height or something like that. So I'll do it once. Okay. So I come up, someone picks me up, throws me, I gotta come up and over and land in this position. Okay? So you're just coming up, coming down, coming up, coming down, and just check your shape. You don't have to come crashing down hard, right? You don't have to be banging your elbow on a hard floor or whatever, but check your shape, straight line, no fetal position, check your timing, everything hits together. Everything hits together as we do it. And that is our basic falling and how to stand up in base. Very, very important.